Hi everyone, how are you Scooby-Doo doing? My name is Dana and I love Scooby-Doo because I grew up with it and it's just a comfort film program to this day, so come join the Scooby-Doo journey with me. Fun fact, in this episode the gang actually split up differently, with Shaggy and Fred paired up and Daphne, Velma and Scooby as another pair. I don't think they'll pair up differently again after Fred and Shaggy figure out they have nothing to talk about. This is the 11th episode of my podcast. I'm quite excited to watch this episode. I remember really loving this episode as a kid, especially because it made me think about Toy Story. This episode is about What's New Scooby-Doo, Season 1, Episode 11, Toy Scary Boo. I'll be telling you all about this episode and also giving my best bits. You should definitely check out the What's New Scooby-Doo series if you haven't already, because these episodes are really good. I grew up watching them, so I might be a little biased, but other people like this series too, so go watch it if you're looking for a Scooby-Doo fix. So I've just started on my Volume 3 DVD, Lights, Camera, Action, and the opening theme came on first before the opening scene. I just wanted to see if it changes and write it down in case it changes, just to make sure I don't go crazy. In the opening scene, we see a spaceman toy escape its box and run away out of the store. We then see more spaceman toys arrive in a truck and build a ladder out of bricks. They use the vents to get around and end up chasing the janitor away. It fades to black. The gang go to the mall so that Velma can get her cousin the Spaceman Swinton action figure for his birthday. They arrive at Happy Toyland, which is a toy store in the mall. They soon find out that all the Spaceman Swintons on the shelf are being put into a huge storage bin by the employees and what looks like the manager of the store. Velma tells the manager, Mr. Bottomcheck, that she needs to buy one of the toys. He tells her that's impossible. Before the gang get to inquire about what that may be, a woman in a pink suit walks in and mentions the toys destroying the department store. The woman introduces herself to the gang as Sandy Gordon, part of POUT, P-O-U-T, which stands for Please Oust Unsafe Toys. She believes toys lead to violence, which makes her fun in a toy store, not. Mr. Bottomcheck mentions that these toys represent sharing and working together. She leaves, but not before mentioning that she won't rest until all the unsafe toys are off the shelf. We already have a suspect here. The gang asks if any authorities have been called, but the manager mentions that he didn't want any bad publicity. The gang offer to investigate, and as soon as the manager finds out that he doesn't have to pay them, he thinks it's a great idea. The gang go to the security guard who was working the night before. The security guard, Walter Claphammer, seems to jump when they address him before becoming strict and telling them to stand up straight. He mentions that he built the best security system himself. He also mentions nothing being able to happen in the mall without him knowing about it. The gang see on the camera the toys destroying the department stores. The gang decide to stay overnight and investigate. They are warned that once the doors close, they are on a time lock, so won't open until morning. The gang split up and look for clues. Fred going with Velma and Daphne, and Shaggy going with Scooby. Shaggy opens the storage bin with all the spacemen, and one of them moves. They run away but pass a shelf full of fashion dolls. The fashion dolls end up getting hold of Scooby and somehow turning off the lights. Fred, Daphne and Velma bump into Harry Nose, who is waiting in line for the Annabelle Action Doll giveaway. He mentions he's a doll collector. Just as he says that, the Annabelle Action Dolls chase the gang into a lift. The dolls cut the wires on the lift and they fall to their doom. But wait! Scooby's quick thinking saves the gang. He puts out his paws and stops the lift, letting everyone get out at the next floor before jumping out and saving himself. The security guard arrives to see the broken lift and tells them to stay out of trouble. Velma notices there was a loud noise when the dolls attacked. Daphne points out that the dolls can't weigh that much. This is our first clue. They go down to an office and find blueprints for the mall. They find out it was built over an old art museum. Daphne remembers it closed down because most of the paintings were stolen and never found again. Fred finds out that Officer Claphammer was the security guard at the art museum as well. Before they can find out any more, remote control aeroplanes come in through the vent and chase the gang out of the room. Fred proposed they split up and look for clues again. Shaggy doesn't seem happy, but Fred tells him that this time they'll mix it up. Fred makes Velma and Shaggy captains. Velma picks Daphne, Shaggy picks Fred, and Velma's second pick is Scooby. Fred tries to make small talk with Shaggy about sports, but Shaggy isn't really into sports. Shaggy asks if Fred wants to get some food, but Fred says he's not hungry. The two of them look quite awkward walking around together looking for clues. They decide together that next time they'll just split up like they normally would. Daphne, Velma and Scooby go down to the car park and see a van painted pink and green called the toy truck. Inside we see Harry knows. He tells them that he makes his own toys, but when he shows them the toys he's made, they aren't very good. He does however mention he's working on remote control fire ants. The remote control part of this is what now makes him another suspect. Fred and Shaggy duct tape the dolls in the boxes so they can't get out. They notice a rumbling noise towards the back of the store and decide to go check it out. They find Sandy Gordon all tied up on a chair. She was in the store overnight because she was stealing batteries from the toy store so the toys wouldn't work. The gang all meet up and Shaggy says he isn't moving anymore and nothing will change his mind. I think the army men in tanks and marching towards them might change his mind. The gang run away in all different directions and we get our chase scene. The gang gets into the fountain. They notice the noise again and see the water in the fountain shaking. The toys go into the fountain to get them and short out. Daphne shoots the toys with a fireman water hose, causing them all to stop working. Velma comes out from the back of the mystery machine with something in her hand from inside the toy. She tells them it's a remote control automaton. That was what made the toys move around, and Velma suspects all the ones in the store will have the same. Harry seems a bit too amazed by the technology of the remote control automaton, so I'm going to rule him out as a suspect, especially as his toys aren't very good, so I doubt he'd be able to make it. Velma mentions the loud booming sound was coming from down below them. They go to the basement. They notice a giant food court supply box. Shaggy climbs inside and notices it's hollow. The gang climb inside and notice a cement breaker. This was making the loud noise they had been hearing. Velma seems to understand what's going on. The gang get everyone to come to the toy store so they can explain who the villain is. Velma explains that Scooby has a collar on that has been specifically designed to sniff out radio waves to find the culprit. Who do you think the culprit is? Take a minute to guess yourselves. Okay, we're about to find out because Harry confessed? I wasn't expecting that. He said he made them to sell them on the market and that this was free publicity. He is taken away by the police. Velma points out the collar wasn't real, it was a disco dog collar. In the morning, the gang drive away in the mystery machine, and it's revealed that Velma has a crying carry that was made by Harry. She's not sure her nephew will like it, and I agree. Scooby and Shaggy go into the secret stash in the mystery machine for a snack. Just at that moment, Velma realises Harry didn't do it. They head back to the mall. They go down to the basement and find the real culprit. Now, who do you think the real culprit is? It's Officer Clamphammer. He's taking out the paintings of the hole made by the cement breaker. He runs away, but Velma hacks into the security camera and they manage to corner him. Everyone is back in the toy store, and the police have Officer Claphammer. The manager asks why Harry would confess, and Velma replies that he wanted to be a toy maker, but his toys weren't very good. If he took credit and everyone thought he had made them, then he would be known as a great toy maker. Velma mentions that she realised that they never solved the mystery about the cement breaker, and when Shaggy opened the secret compartment for his snacks, it made her realise it. The toys were used as a distraction while Officer Claphammer broke through the cement. He stole the painting and hid them so that he could come back and get them later. He's taken away and the manager tells them that he will make sure the paintings go back to their original owners. He tells them that they've done a good job and Velma asks if she could get a Spaceman Swinton. The gang leave in the mystery machine again and Scooby says his catchphrase. Okay, so that was the end of the 11th episode of What's New Scooby-Doo, Toy Scary Boo. My best bit was when Fred switches up the order of who splits up for clues. It was funny seeing Fred and Shaggy together struggling to make small talk. It really made me laugh, especially that they agreed afterwards that they would just go back to splitting up like normal. My worst bit was when Velma just unplugs one of the little kids' rides in the store because Shaggy and Scooby are playing on it. She could have hurt them. It's not her place to pull the plug on store's property. I wouldn't think it would be okay to go to the supermarket and unplug something that didn't belong to me. Also, she was looking for a toy. She could have just left them there to play while she looked. She didn't need all of them to go look for one toy. And also, the gang almost got killed in the lift, so that would also be a worse bit. My funniest bit was when Shaggy and Scooby pile things high in front of the door when they are in the office. When the gang are then attacked by remote control aeroplanes, they can't get out. Shaggy, however, tells them not to worry and removes a stone and the whole thing falls apart so they can have a quick getaway. I just found it quite funny. My favourite supporting character for this episode was Harry Nose. Although he wasn't very likeable, his character was interesting. He collects toy collectibles. I feel like a lot of us have some kind of collection, even if it isn't toys. Especially a lot of us have a Scooby-Doo collection, so I feel that makes the character a bit more personable. Not only that, but he aspires to be a toy maker, and although his toys aren't very good at the moment, it takes time and practice to make them, and I'm sure with perseverance he'd be able to make better toys. Not really a fun fact, but I kept almost saying Toy Story 2 instead of Toy Scary Boo because they sound familiar. And also there's lots of army men attacking them, which reminds me of the army men in Toy Story as well. This is the end of my 11th podcast episode. Thank you for listening. I wonder if you thought the same as my best, worst and funniest bits. Was Harry Nose your favourite supporting character this episode? Whether you agreed or disagreed, I'd love to know your thoughts about this episode, and I may even feature them in my next episode. The next episode will be Season 1, Episode 12, Lights, Camera, Mayhem, so get ready to listen to the next podcast. Also, it's Thanksgiving next week in the US, so I just want to say have a great Thanksgiving and stay safe. I'd love to hear about what you do on Thanksgiving and the food you're excited to have. We don't have Thanksgiving here, so I love hearing all about it. There is a link in any of the episode descriptions to the transcript for that particular episode, or you can go to my website and go to the blog page and pick the episode you want. If you want to ask any questions or even just mention anything you liked about this episode, you can go to my website, meddlingpodcast.com. That's meddlingpodcast.com, or you can email me at feedback@meddlingpodcast.com. You can DM me on Instagram @meddlingpodcast or on Twitter @meddlingp. I'd love to hear any of your thoughts about Scooby-Doo, whether it's this episode, another episode, or just Scooby-Doo in general. Thanks for listening and stay groovy!